People tell us that we are wrong, we're immoral, we're sinful, all of this other kind of stuff. So we don't get, something triggered me when you said that. We don't get the opportunity to properly experience our development and our evolution into sex and sexuality in a very safe and supported way, right? And society as a whole will celebrate Johnny and his, you like a little girl in your class, right? But if Johnny shows any type of interest to the little boy in his class, right, that is demonized. And in some instances, there's violence that can come on to Johnny. So I say that to say that I am hoping that this rebirth, that this opportunity to educate one another in a different way allows for humanity to have more compassion for the full spectrum of humanity and our sex and sexuality. Because there will be other young men, there will be other young women, there will be non-gender conforming individuals who can be able to develop and experience their sex and sexuality in a safe and supported way that will allow them to, I'm sure, navigate around some of the pitfalls that some of us in this room had to go through. And there were some very tough, hard, and hurtful lessons.
You know, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You know, my all transgender review, when I first started it, the first month I started it, because we have transgender women that do topless dancing, and it's very sexual, and we even have private lap dances. It's like a go-go play, what is it called, topless dancing for trans women, with trans women. It's very new. And the girls that dance for me are beautiful. They're educated. And most of them have jobs working as women, you know. And it's a safe place where they can come and enjoy themselves, make their little coins, you know what I mean? And they don't have to have sex. You know, they don't have to do what they don't want to do. And people can come and enjoy watching us and being around us. And you know, I sit back, all of this stuff that's going on today in this world, it's just so amazing, and I feel so blessed to be a part of it and to see it transpire right in front of my very eyes, because this was a vision I had 40 years ago, you know, and people looked at me like I was crazy, you know, and I just feel so blessed to be a part of this. And I see a lot of people in this room right now that are close to my age, you know, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. So this is very positive. It's very positive.
And I'm glad you're here still to see the manifestation of it. Chris, I want you to give us maybe some final words or final thoughts, and then also, before we close out, please let us know where we can find you all, what you have coming up, because one of the purposes of this event is to connect community with community, local community. The founders of this event were very intentional about making sure that there were vendors and entertainers and entrepreneurs right here in Phoenix. So in your closing remarks, please let us know where people can find you and support you.
Absolutely. So I think if being here is so important, I think if there's anything, whether you are part of the community, whether you're straight, if straight people can learn anything from the LGBTQ plus community, it is loving yourself authentically and fully. Because, I mean, we're at the Sex Expo. One thing that came out, Pornhub had their list where they were looking at trends of how people consume pornography, and trans-specific pornography increased like 200 some odd % over last year. If individuals could learn anything, it's like, be yourself. There's nothing wrong with who you are. If you are straight, heterosexual, like you are a man, you love women, do that to the fullest of your being. No one is trying to change that about you. Nobody wants you to be anything.
No agenda.
No, at all. Nobody wants you to be that. What we want is the ability to be ourselves in that same respect, in that same avenue. We want a world where the things that we went through as children, the self-doubt, the hate, the internalized homophobia, the wanting to commit suicide, we don't want that next generation to grow up feeling those things. We want the next generation to be like, if this is who I am, great. I'm supported, I'm educated, and can make decisions for myself that keep me safe, because the world is going to take advantage of folks when they don't know when you don't know what you're doing. And if little Johnny is straight, great, awesome. Because I always say straight people are the ones having gay babies. That's so, baby, be straight. Baby, keep making. So, for me, where you can find me, if you can find me on Instagram, that's where I post most of my shows at, and I usually do like a monthly schedule. But my Instagram is my name, so Christopher with a K, so it's Kristofer, I for Inez, and Onyx, Onyx. So Kristoferiyx is my Instagram.
Thank you. Miss Regina, your closing remarks, and where can we find you?
My Facebook is Regina Wells, and my Instagram is Regina Gazelle Wells, or Regina Gazelle, I'm sorry. I have the T-Girl Review every Monday night out at BS West in Scottsdale. I'm always around. I'm a huge advocate. I am the reigning Miss Trans Legend USA 2023. So I'm always on the circuit, of course. Christopher keeps me right along with him. He makes sure I'm appearing in his shows, you know what I mean? And, so I'm all around town. I'm all around town girl. So, yeah.
I just remembered something. I'm on cast, so one of the shows I said that was in my bio is Magic. It's an all-black casted show. It is twice a month, every second and fourth Sunday at Stacy's at Melrose at 8 p.m.
Y'all give it up for our first panel of the expo. Miss Regina Wells and Mr. Christopher Inez Onyx. Thank you so much. Thank you. Y'all, this is so beautiful to have such diversity and representation at the Sex Expo. Did y'all enjoy that first panel? Okay. Now I did grow up in the black church, so you know when the preacher say something, did y'all enjoy that first panel? An amen or something. All right. Okay, y'all. So we are going to continue on with our program for today. I love this. Is ASR? Azra. Is Azra in the house? Okay. As we get Azra, we're going to get ready to transition into a conversation about cannabis and sex. Y'all know what that is, right? Get lifted. Azra, are you in the house? It is time for you to come to the main stage. As Azra is coming to the main stage, I'm going to go ahead and read Azra's bio. First of all, how y'all doing out there? I just want to take the temperature of the crowd. Y'all all right? Okay. I see some new faces snuck in during the panel. Glad to see all y'all. Welcome to the Sex Expo. Is this Azra right here? All right, awesome. Azra, I'm going to welcome you to the main stage, but before I do that, let me go ahead and read your bio. I had you here. Y'all give it up for Azra. Can we get some, Asar? Okay. Y'all give it up for Asar. Asar, please make him feel welcome. Asar is the owner of the cannabis education business, Ganja Guided. It's a health and wellness advocate, living a primarily plant-based lifestyle, okay? Serving the underserved and underutilized community. Azar is a certified cannabis care professional for over 10 years and is dedicated to providing practical and useful education on cannabis products, uses, and the relationship between cannabis and the human body. Y'all give it up one more time for Azar.
I appreciate y'all. How you doing today? Awesome. All right, so again, my name is Asar. I have been in the cannabis industry here in Arizona for about 13 years. I came out here because of my grandmother got really sick a number of years ago. She had a crazy blood cancer, and the only thing that helped her was cannabis. So as soon as that helped, I was like, cool, I could do this. Weed works for things. So before I get into my lecture, I want to know how many people know about cannabis at all. We got hands? Cool. Y'all know what THC is? All right. Y'all know what CBD is? Cool. All right. So I don't have to do too much explaining. I can start off giving y'all a little bit of information, but I'm going to tell you what these things actually represent for you in your body, and we're going to talk about how this can actually help or hinder your sexual process. Is that okay? All right. So I don't have slides or anything today, so I'm going to be mostly talking. I'm going to give you a couple of different things that you probably haven't heard of before as it relates to cannabis in the first place. Number one, cannabis is related to this thing in your body called the endocannabinoid system. Has anybody ever heard of the endocannabinoid system? Anybody know what the endocannabinoid system does?
Okay.
Hands? Yes? Okay, so you want to give me an answer? Would you be willing? So it helps you with feelings, mood. It also helps with pain, sensory. Okay, helps with inflammation. All right. It also helps with mood. It's a mood regulator. All right. All these things are throughout the entire system. Right. They're in all your cells, like all your cells. So every cell in your body has a CB1 and CB2 receptor. That's your endocannabinoid system. It regulates the functions of the body. This is why it's important for anyone who uses cannabis to understand its effects on your body. I'm going to talk about women first because the woman comes first. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I personally believe that the woman is God, so you got to be able to take care of her. Otherwise, you don't have no humans on the planet. So that's my personal perspective, as well as there's a lot of science behind it that backs it up. Number one, cannabis as a product is fantastic for women. Why? Because it matches your own signature, right? Why? Because the plant cannabis itself actually is gendered, right? I know we're talking about this, but there is a female cannabis plant and then there is a male cannabis plant. Both of them do two different things, right? The female cannabis plant creates the flowers, creates the seeds. The male cannabis plant usually just pollinates the female cannabis plant, and then people use it to build houses and stuff. Doesn't really do a whole lot, right? But it does have its uses. So the female cannabis plant has the female essence, right? Has a number of different cannabinoids. Y'all heard of the term cannabinoids before? It's a bunch of different names: CBA, THCA, CBG, and all those different things. It's like 125 of them. They all do different things, but mostly they're therapeutic and they attach to these CB1 and CB2 receptors. But what I'm talking about today in that particular process is something the body already does. So there's this chemical called anandamide. Anybody heard of anandamide before? No? Yes. She's educated. Anandamide is our natural version of THC. It's the thing that the body makes already before you smoke any plant. All right? It actually is called the bliss molecule. It attaches to the CB1 and CB2 receptors and gives you the feeling of euphoria, feeling of bliss. Anybody ever ate chocolate before? You heard chocolate being an aphrodisiac? You know why they call it aphrodisiac? Because it has anandamide inhibitors, so it actually reduces the rate at which anandamide is broken down in the body. All right? So that means that if you eat chocolate, your bliss lasts longer. There are a couple of other chemicals in chocolate that do that, but I don't want to list them here because some of them are hard to say, like phenolphthalein or something like that nature. But we're not doing that today. We're just going to talk about the basic stuff. So this anandamide is a bliss molecule. It actually kicks in and gives you the feeling of bliss whenever you're working out, okay? Whenever you're really happy, experiencing something you're enjoying, or when you're having sex. These things happen at those times, right? So if you're having sex and it's like, oh, this feels great, and it goes away real quickly, that means that your enzymes are breaking down that anandamide too quickly for you to have a long, extended process, right? So the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to the female body is CBD. CBD is way better than THC when it comes to sexual experience. Why? Because it inhibits the breakdown of anandamide in the system. So that means when you're having pleasurable experiences, You're going to have longer lasting pleasurable experiences, right? So if you're having a hard time getting to the places where you need to go, you know what I mean? You're trying to get to a specific place, but your partner's really not getting you there. It might not necessarily be all of their fault, right? So this is actually a way to help you, when taking a product, experience more pleasure than you're actually able to experience naturally. CBD has actually been known to help with endometriosis, helping to get rid of the inflammation that causes that possibly dry situation that you might experience. Again, I'm not an expert on the female body. I'm an expert on cannabis. All right? So if I'm wrong, feel free to tell me I'm wrong when it comes to the female body. That being said, it helps with prolonged stimulation. It helps with moisturization. It helps with anti-inflammation. So as far as taking CBD is concerned, there are no regulations as far as how much you should be taking. But what I will say is that you should take a low and slow approach to any cannabis medicine. Why? Because everybody's body chemistry is different, right? So if you start too fast, you may end up having too much of the experience to make you say, nah, I want to do it. And this is regardless of whether or not you're taking THC or CBD. But I think CBD specifically, as an educator, I can tell you has had effects in, number one, relaxation. It's going to help relax you because it's a nutrient. Your body uptakes it. It supports the endocannabinoid system, which helps to regulate the mood, as opposed to THC, which attaches to the THC molecule, the CB1 and CB2 receptors, and then mimics anandamide, right? The difference between anandamide and THC is that anandamide breaks down within like 10, 15 minutes. And THC breaks down over a process of 2 to 8 hours. So it's mimicking the bliss experience for a much longer time. If you don't want your body to feel bliss for that long, especially since it's an unnatural process, most people begin to experience what's called anxiety. Anybody take cannabis before and it gave you way too much anxiety? Bye, most people, how many people? All right, so I like that. If you have taken it, right, if you've taken it, did you smoke it or did you eat it when you experienced anxiety? Eating it. All right, so cool. So we're going to talk about this. When you eat cannabis, right, it actually changes the molecular structure of your THC. When you smoke it, you're getting delta-9 THC. That's a really big molecule. It attaches to one receptor on the cell. You get your high for 2 hours. You go about your business, all right? Also, when you smoke it, you get smoke in the body, and that's never good. That causes inflammation, and I'll get to that when we start talking about how cannabis affects the male body. But when you eat the product, it breaks down to this stuff called delta-11 THC, okay? Delta-11 THC is up to 10 times smaller than the delta-9 THC molecule. So it actually gets inside of the cell and attaches to the CB1 and CB2 receptors in the inside of the cell as well as the outside of the cell. So it takes longer for your enzymes to break it down. So it goes from about a 2-hour span to a 8-hour span. The more concentrated it is, the more your body is experiencing this bliss experience, which could be excitement, right? And as we know, excitement can also be experienced as anxiety. So if you're not doing anything at the moment to make you excited, then your body may default to what it's used to experiencing, which is a cortisol shot. Y'all know what cortisol is? Cortisol is a stress molecule. Okay, that's fight or flight. You're like, oh snap. If you were like, I don't know, if you were back in the day and you were hunting in the wild and you were like, cool, I'm trying to find a deer. You dig what I'm saying? And then you see a lion, you'd be like, oh snap, right? That fear, right, that you're experiencing, or at least the situation of danger they're experiencing, is going to cause that molecule to get into your blood so that you can bring all the blood to your body so you can get the fuck out of it. That makes sense? Okay. But if you don't need all that blood in your feet and your legs, you just need it in one particular area, you dig what I'm saying? You need to have more of a controlled experience. Feel what I'm saying? So I always recommend eating the product. I don't recommend smoking it. I only recommend smoking products in emergencies. Why? Because I'm a healthcare professional. I don't want you to really get high. I want you to be well. High helps wellness. Don't get me wrong. Psychologically, it helps wellness. But the actual constituents of the plant are like any other herb. Okay, they're therapeutic. There are these things called terpenes. Y'all know what terpenes are? Sweet. Most people think terpenes. Most people think terpenes are only in cannabis, but terpenes are in every herb on the planet. Okay, there are sequestered terpenes, there's monoterpenes, just means there's some that are more potent than others, some that have more therapeutic effects than others. Some just smell sweet, but some actually do stuff for you. Like y'all know what lavender is, right? Lavender is a terpene that makes you get sleepy or relaxed, right? Something I like to bring up. Does anybody like spicy food? Okay, so has anybody eaten something so spicy you feel like you high? Now, okay, so at least one person, that means you've gone to the edge. You've been to the edge. You've had some really spicy wings, some ghost pepper wings or something. It's like, oh, instead of dying, I feel like I'm high. That's because of a chemical terpene called beta-chlorphyllene. Beta-chlorphyllene actually makes you feel high. It's the same high that you get from smoking weed. Same situation. So these terpenes give you different mood augmenters, different therapeutic effects. All right, let me bring it back to cannabis and sex right quick. For most of us, and I'm gonna bring it to men now, if that's okay. Most of us, right, who are in the society who are men, we deal with stresses, right? So most of us who smoke weed or use cannabis use it because life be stressful. You go to work, you're experiencing stresses, you're dealing with Mike, and I'm not saying this is just men, obviously women, y'all deal with this in the workplace as well, right? You deal with this when you go to work, you gotta deal with a boss you don't like, you gotta deal with coworkers you don't like, you gotta deal with customers or patients you don't like, and that is all stressful, right? So a lot of times when we use the product, we use it as a stress modifier, right? So most of us use it chronically. Y'all ever heard of somebody who's a chronic smoker? Chronic use? It's all good. Sister, it's good for you. It's good for you. No. Okay, cool. Well, brother, I apologize. Listen. Biochemically, depending on your transitional phase, cannabis can actually do bad things for you. So if you're a man and you're trying to reproduce at some point in your life, right? Chronic smoking, just from using the smoke, actually reduces the quality of your sperm. It actually reduces the amount of sperm that you have on a regular basis, right? And there have been a number of studies that show this. It also decreases the quality of the sperm, right? So the shape that it's in, its ability to move, all that is affected by the chronic use of the product. However, there have also been studies that show that people who have used cannabis versus people who haven't used cannabis, the actual sperm rates are higher. So limit your use, I would say. What I tell people is that understanding any medicine, overusing it can cause negative effects. You want to have a balance of your use. The optimum way to use cannabis is going to be within a 3-day span. You take your cannabis, you give yourself 3 days, and then you take cannabis again. Why? It's going to give your body the ability to reset the cycle. Your CB1 and CB2 receptors and cells eject all negative processes, and it goes back to your sober mind, right? Usually about 3 days is how long it takes. So I tell especially brothers, use that interval to keep yourself in check, especially if you're planning on, again, reproducing in the future. But also, decrease in sperm count also represents a decrease in energy in males, right? Because I don't know if y'all have done this already, but have y'all already taught on semen retention here? No? Did we talk about semen retention? No? Y'all, look, when we get there, please pay attention. It's very important. It's very important for males to understand that your vital life force, okay, is held in your semen, right? Each one of those little sperm is like a copy of you. And we know there's like billions of those sperms in one ejaculation. That's a billion exact copies of you. Think about your energy that your body uses to create an exact copy of you just for that one session. And most of us is, fucking 3, 4, 5, 7 times a week. That's a lot. That's a lot. Okay? Really, you should be, retaining that, right? Either through abstaining, right? Or, if you're familiar with like Montauk Chia, you might know some, techniques, right? Which you'll probably learn. I'm not going to tell you again. I'm a cannabis expert. I'm not the sex expert. But retaining that helps you to have more energy in your life, have more clarity, less brain fog, things of that nature. So I always recommend, again, low, slow when it comes to cannabis, specifically when it comes to males using it. The more you smoke, the more you use, the less of your actual testosterone hormone is actually produced in your body. So again, it depends on where you want those chemicals on. So the overall thing is cannabis for sex for men in small doses, good. Large doses, not always good. For women, large doses, very good. Okay? Still low and slow because you don't want to have a bad experience. You want to be like, yo, I need to get it off, so let me take this 100 milligram edible and then go onto the couch for 8 to 9 hours or 3 days and not be able to get out the couch. It's not what you want, okay? You want to be able to put yourself in a position where it's working for you. So I tell people to microdose. Y'all heard of microdosing before? Microdose, that means small doses over long periods of time. Even if you're not high, your body is still getting that chemical to be able to put you in a position to experience what you need to experience from the product. All right, I'm doing a lot of talking. Anybody got questions for me at this point? Questions? No questions? Yes.
Yeah. So when you were talking about the CBD and that blissful feeling, was that isolate CBD or some THC in
It really, I won't say it doesn't matter because it matters. When you're isolating CBD, it's going to do what just CBD does, right? Which is, again, it's going to inhibit the uptake of certain things. It's going to reduce inflammation in the body. But just like any other herb, right? When you take a substance out of its natural environment, the body is always going to be like, what is this, right? Let's just talk about sugar as our example. If we get white sugar from the store, that's isolated glucose. When you eat it, then your body is like, what is this? I can't absorb this, so I have to attach water to it. So the body then takes water from your body, attaches it to that sugar molecule, and then absorbs it to use it for different things. So it's taking away from other resources in the body, which is why a lot of times sugar will deplete you, will make you feel like you're dry, right? Not to get into other things like yeast, but just simply. CBD is the same way. It's going to be like, what is this? I want to attach other chemicals to it so that I can uptake it the way it needs to be uptaken. The cannabis product has about 125 different cannabinoids that are all working together. In addition to that, it's another 300 different types of terpenes that it needs to be able to function properly. So you want to get a more bioavailable aspect of it, which is why I'm a advocate of like full spectrum hemp products. So something that comes straight from the plant. If you get an isolate, it works, but it's not as bioavailable to the body, is what I'll say. Okay. Any other questions? Anybody got any questions for me at this point? Okay, so I want to let you know, anandamide, right? Oh, questions? Yes.
When I consume marijuana and have sex,
Uh-huh.
it's like I can go longer.
Yes.
What's up with that?
So, good question. Good question. In a lot of surveys, right, that's another issue with men, right? A lot of men will say, if I use the product, I either don't ejaculate at all, I use it, I don't ejaculate at all, I ejaculate too quickly. Okay? That's because, again, it modulates sensitivity in the body. So for some people, based upon their body chemistry, it may numb you out, right? So you go fast longer because you're able to focus on what you want to focus on, not just what's happening in the situation. So you can focus a little bit harder, you can last a little bit longer, you know what I mean? Think about baseball, whatever keeps you focused in the middle of you doing it, you know what I'm saying? You usually are able to do that a little bit better with the cannabis. Or it's the exact opposite. You want to focus on something else, but all you can focus on is the feeling, which produces that premature ejaculation process. So again, for men, it's kind of a roll of the dice. But what's responsible for that is, again, that THC. Why? Because the THC is modulating your ability to sense certain things. So like you ever smoke weed and it's like, oh my God, my coat feels so much better than it did before. Oh my goodness. That's because that, I'm going to say, plant anandamide is now in a place where it's giving you a very intense experience of something you've already been feeling, right? If you're lasting longer, that means your body chemistry is already numb to that feeling, right? So you have focused on numbing that feeling of hyper excitement so that you can last longer when you're doing what you're doing. Does that make sense? Cool. Any other questions? I got answers all day. I got answers all day. Is there something that I said that was confusing today when I was speaking? Because sometimes I can do that. No? Okay, so to recap, right? THC is a plant form of our internal molecule, anandamide. We need anandamide to feel good, right? But we should always think about regulating these things naturally. We shouldn't think about doing these things overly, you know what I mean? Unless you're having a serious issue, then I recommend getting a professional. Feel free to contact me. I have cards here. If you have any questions, concerns about using the product, about people who need to use the product and may feel a certain type of way about whether or not it's going to help them or hurt them, or whether or not they're going to drop dirty on a piss test because they took some CBD one time, or, you know, things of that nature. I know there's a lot of questions surrounding it. There's not a lot of testing and research when it comes to cannabis at this point that's accepted by the medical industry. Obviously, we've been using this product for millions of years, but when it comes to Western testing and things of that nature, official peer-reviewed science, there's not a ton, all right? So a lot of it has to do with like personal experience, as well as having the space to deal with what it is you're dealing with. I actually offer educational classes. I'm doing workshops in March, all March at Grassroots Bookstore that is going to be related to cannabis, right? Related to CBD intake, related to dosing. My personal specialty is dosing, helping people understand how to dose the product, because you can take a tiny bit of cannabis and knock yourself out, and you can take a lot of cannabis and not feel it at all, depending on how you're actually taking your product and what you're taking. All right, so just a quick preview of what I give you. How many people have had edibles before? Okay, when you had your edibles, did you have candies, gummies, or did you have baked goods, brownies, cookies? All the above. All right. Did you know you're not supposed to take those the same way? Yeah, you're not supposed to take those the same way. You're not supposed to just chew and swallow gummy bears. You're not supposed to, if you got hard candies, you're not supposed to crunch on those and swallow those. That's not how you're supposed to actually intake those products in order for it to be effective. You're actually supposed to suck on the gummies and the candies. Why? Because they absorb under the tongue, they absorb in the cheeks at 70 to 90% absorption. When you eat those candies, it's only 30% absorption in your gut and your GI tract. Right, so that means you only get 30% of your medicine. You got a 100 milligram bar, you're only getting 30 milligrams of that in your actual gut. All right? Yeah, right. In addition, THC attaches to fat lipids, right? So that's why cookies, brownies, they'll have milk in it, they'll have cheese, they'll have these different things in it, which helps to bind the THC lipid to your gut so that you can absorb more of it. Whereas a gummy bear is going to be eaten and destroyed inside of your stomach acid. So that's probably why if you had a gummy before and you ate it and you didn't feel nothing, you digested it. You digested it, bro. You gotta suck on it. You gotta suck on it. Okay? Allow it to absorb into your cheeks and under your tongue, and it do a whole lot better for you. In addition, 10 milligrams is the dose that everybody says that the industry standard, 10 milligrams. Okay? I know, right? Because it's like, I ate 1,000 milligram brownie. Oh my God, I still didn't feel nothing. Again, you're either digesting all your THC, you see what I'm saying? Or you have a metabolizing problem. And that's, a lot of us have that type of thing. So if I was working with you, I would tell you to come through. We would go through an entire process of actually dosing you. And you'd have to be patient. Why? Because you got to take it, not feel it, wait 2 hours, take it, not feel it, wait 2 hours, take it, start to feel it, and understand that that's your microdose. Once you actually start feeling it, that's your microdose. Then you have to find a place that's your equilibrium to where you actually get high if you want to have a good time in one party. Make sense? All right. Yeah. So, thank you so much for listening to me. That is actually my presentation for the moment. I'm gonna stay. If you got questions, anything like that, I'm always here. I'm gonna be here for maybe the next couple of hours at the table around the corner at Healing Hands Oasis. We got healing oils, stress and pain relief oils. They got essential oils. You massage them, but like externally. They're not like internal massage oils, but we got that coming.
Asar, y'all give it up for Asar. Now, real quick. I asked Asar to stay for a moment because he's the professor, he's the teacher, so I'm going to have him ask a question because we got a giveaway here. Last night we gave away some swag bags, which are which stands for Sex Without Guilt. So they've made some additional swag bags here, and we want to give a couple away. So can you ask the audience a question, and let's see who can earn a swag bag?
I gotta ask a question based upon what I already said. I said a lot. All right. Okay, cool. What? Okay, good. What's the difference between THC and CBD as far as acting in the body?
Yeah, you said CBD and THC. So I believe you said the CBD attaches to your C1 or some CV1, CV2, something like that receptors, and it's internal and external around those receptors, while the THC is directly binding to the CV1, like attaching to it.
Kind of. I'll take it. So what she was saying is that the difference between CBD and THC is that THC actually binds directly to CV1 and CV2 receptors, either inside or out of the cell, and CBD doesn't bind to receptors at all. It actually inhibits binding of receptors. So if you have ever smoked and it's like way too intense, CBD is actually going to mellow you. It's going to make you start feeling like you're not as high. Why? Because the THC in your system is no longer going to be able to bind to those CV1 and CV2 receptors as effectively with the CBD in your system, because it's actually blocking those receptors, so you can't feel it. All right, cool. All right, one more question. What is the name of, I said it like 6 times, what is the name of the internal cannabinoid that your body produces that THC mimics? That's right. Andamine. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. It's good to teaching people know stuff now. I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much, man. What's your name? Monroe. Thank you so much. Give it up for Monroe.
Thank you. Y'all give it up for Asar. Listen, couple of things. We're going to keep the program moving here, but I want to bring the attention. We actually, since we just had the cannabis conversation, we have Sweetest Ecstasy. Velma is out there, and she's got infused products, so you can check her out. Also, Asar has a table out there, correct? Okay. You have a table out there? Perfect. All right. So husband is endorsing his wife's product. Y'all go out there and check it out. But there are also Crazy Cones has regular and infused snow cones. So if you want to try out what y'all just heard about, you can go on right on outside. All right. Listen, we're going to ask Can Community to come on up to the stage. Y'all give them a hand. Can Community Health, another community-based organization here.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Catherine, and this is Chris with me. We are with Can Community Health. We are an agency that is here in Phoenix. We travel all throughout the state of Arizona, offering not just rapid HIV testing, but also hepatitis C testing, along with other STDs, syphilis, chlamydia, and gonorrhea. So we have a clinic on 19th Avenue in Indian School where all of these services are offered for free. Treatment options are available also. For anybody in the community, we are open. Our doors are open to every single individual. Everybody gets the amazing quality treatment that everybody deserves and the respect that everybody deserves for the reasons that they come into our clinic. It is a safe space and a confidential space for everybody to receive our services. Aside of the clinic services, the free HIV and STD testing, we also offer PrEP. So just a quick question, show of hands, who knows what PrEP is? Okay, so quite a bit of people. So PrEP is a medication. It stands for pre-exposure prophylaxis. What this is a before pill to prevent HIV. So this prevents HIV by up to 99.7% for one of the methods and over 99% for other methods. There is three medications or three types available. So 2 are pills and 1 is an injectable medication for those that don't remember to take a pill every day. So all options are available at our clinic for services, and there are insurance options that are available. Also, for those that are uninsured, there are patient assistance programs that our PrEP navigators, ourselves, and the rest of our team will be more than happy to connect you with for the services.
On behalf of Can Community Health, I just want to thank OMG for having us here. This is a great event. It is really, really important that we come together as a community to help end the transmission of HIV, especially in the Black community. So thank you to the goddesses, Miss Nikki and Miss Kiki and Miss Nisha for having us here. So we are providing free rapid 1-minute HIV test outside. Come talk to us if you're interested. If you're not interested today, we have a bunch of things on the table you can take, including our phone number and our address to our clinic location, where services are also free. You just need to make an appointment and come see us.
We appreciate all the work that you guys are doing in the community for free, okay? So please take advantage. Know your status, y'all. I can't say that enough. Know your status, all right? Now listen, we're going to keep it moving, but I wanted to just give a shout out to the food truck outside, Truth Soul Food Factory. Now, I had a chance to dig into that mac and cheese, and I'm letting you know that thing is fire. So if you want some good old mac and cheese, y'all go on out to the Truth Soul Food Factory. I also want to put in another plug. We have massages going on upstairs. We have yoni steams going on upstairs. All you need to do is just sign up on that table over there. And then also at 2 o'clock, we have our sex positions class with Jasmine Brown. So at 2 o'clock, you can also sign up for the sex position class with Jasmine Brown. The classes, the yoni steams, and the massages take place right up these stairs. All right, y'all. Let's keep the party going. So I'm really excited about this next conversation that I'm going to have with Princess Shayla. Can y'all give it up for Princess Shayla as she comes up to the stage? Oh, no, y'all can do better than that. Come on, Princess Shayla. There we go. I know. There's still a few of us in here now. All right. Going to grab that mic. And the couch is amazingly comfortable. This would be something that I'd fall asleep on. So is your mic on? Because we will make sure it's going to be me and you right now. So we just going to... Is it on? Check 1, 1, 2.
It's on. It's on.
It's
Just
on.
push it up.
One more time?
There we go. Okay. She is hot and live. Here we go. Princess Shayla, welcome to the stage. I had the opportunity to meet you last night, and that beautiful smile and just that bubbly personality, I really appreciate the opportunity that I get a chance to talk with you here for a few minutes.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited right now.
Okay. See, this is what I'm talking about, y'all. Y'all in for a treat. Princess Shayla, tell us about yourself. And we're going to get into something that maybe a lot of people don't know about. But if you could just kind of first give us an overview of who you are and what you do here in the community.
I would love to, thank you. I'm Princess Shayla, so I'm a model for the community. I model everything alternative and kinky and everything involved with BDSM and the alternative lifestyle that we all live and love and enjoy. I've been an advocate for the community for about 5 years now. I originally started at the Den of Indomitus in Central Phoenix. It's a professional, fully equipped, fully owned, and woman-operated dungeon downtown. And that's where I started. And now here I am. That's crazy.
Yes. And the thing about it is, she giving this resume, and I'm like, ain't you 19, 20, 21? Just the youthfulness is flowing through. So
I really appreciate that.
Listen,
Thank you.
I said it earlier with Mama Regina, black don't crack. So we love all right. We have evidence of it here today. So there is a term that maybe a lot of people, and it's an acronym, so I'd like for you to educate. Big Little Dynamics, DDLG. What does that mean?
Yes, so I'm here to talk to you all about age play and the DDLG lifestyle. So DDLG, to simply put it, stands for Daddy Dom Little Girl. That's the overall umbrella aspect for the whole role play of it, but ultimately the acronym changes depending on the players of the role, essentially. So if the Dom is a mother, perhaps it would be Mommy Dom little boy or Mommy Dom little girl or whatever. So overall, the full term is age play. That's what it falls under, and that's what we're going to talk about.
Okay, so right on the surface, right, that may pique somebody's interest, and it probably is controversial in terms of even just the acronym and what it stands for. So can you talk a little bit about some of the misconceptions, and can you provide us with some education as to what it really is?
Yes, absolutely. And you're absolutely right. As soon as someone says Daddy Dom little girl, or as soon as someone says age play, that ping of like children pops into everybody's head right away. And that is a total misconception that people have. And I would love to talk about that, actually. So age play, to me, from what I've seen, it started out as a role play in sex, right? Every guy wants to be daddy. There's always a woman deep inside that wants to feel like a little girl, that always wants to feel taken care of. But that whole role has really developed into a full lifestyle, which I think is really interesting. It's gone beyond just the bedroom. It's gone beyond just sex. It's really taken a hold of a type of relationship that people seek out in their full lifestyles.
And so just for clarification, these are only consenting adults that would participate in this. Is that correct?
That is correct. As anyone in this lifestyle will tell you, BDSM involves consenting adults and only ever consenting adults. Isn't that right?
So tell me some of the things that you've experienced in this lifestyle and things that you've seen in terms of exposure to we talked about liberation earlier. So what are some liberating aspects of being a part of this lifestyle?
Yeah, so age play, it's honestly the way that I've seen it and the way that I've seen it develop in life and in the community and with relationships, it's that it's not about sex. It's about being safe and knowing that there's a person that's there for you, that's going to take care of you in your best moments, in your worst moments. They're by your side. They're there when you cry. They're that person that you can call when everything is going wrong. And it's important that we have that for each other, because this community can be so dangerous. It can be so toxic. There are people that will manipulate you and be out here to hurt you and take advantage of you. And it's important that we have a community where we talk about the aspects of how important it is to be safe and what it feels like to be safe and what it really looks like when someone is taking care of us. So what I've seen in this community is that, you know, we are coming together, but there's still a lot of danger that we have to look out for. You know, there's people that, like I said, there's people that want to be daddy. There's every guy here that wants to be daddy to somebody, right? Call me daddy in the bedroom, you know, let me smack you around, let me take advantage of you. But do you have fruit snacks in your pouch there for me when I'm hungry?
So is that a real, like, would that be a real kind of how that would play out?
That would be kind of how, it's a sign of, like, I'm here for you, right? So, yeah, I respect you. Yes, you're my daddy in the bedroom. Yeah, you're gonna rough me up and you're gonna smack me around. I'm gonna do whatever you want. But outside of the bedroom, can I trust you? Outside of the bedroom, can I call you? You know, if you're not using my body, are you still gonna take care of me? And you know, it's really important that we discuss those things.
How does one person kind of even get introduced to this lifestyle if they were interested in exploring this particular type of play?
The answer for that I have is that you have to look into yourself. So, age play has roles, right? So you have your dominant and you have your submissive, just like with any other aspect. But it's important to be in tune first to know what role are you going to play, and are you going to really be able to lead that role? If you're going to be a dominant in this role, do you really have the space to care and love for another person, not just control them? If you're going to be a little or a submissive in this space, do you have the care and do you have the space to be vulnerable to another person? Age play is a mental regression role play. So what that means is that mentally, you are taking yourself and you are putting yourself in a more vulnerable position We call that getting into little space. And what that means is that you're allowing kind of your adult space, your adult mind, that part of you that pays all the bills, goes to work, washes your laundry, handles everything. That part of you kind of takes a step back and it takes a break. And for that inner child to come forward and for you to be like, hey, this person, you're safe with this person. I know that this person's going to take care of you, because that inner child is so vulnerable, but it's so important that we let that inner child come out and be taken care of, especially in the Black community.
So when I'm with a client and I'm doing therapy, one of the things that we often touch on is, what is that inner child saying to you and your adult self? What does that inner child need? When I hear you talk about that, are there, and I haven't done any research on this, so it's something that I'm interested in really discovering, but from your experience, have you seen or heard any therapeutic benefits to someone being able to regress to this state of mind, this childlike state of mind, but then being properly cared for and taken care of? Have there been any anecdotal spaces or anything you can point us to around that?
Yes, absolutely. Age play, I view age play completely as therapeutic, honestly, from both the dominant and submissive aspects of it. The therapeutic part, especially being submissive, right? When you're talking to that inner child and you're asking that inner child what they need and you're caring for that inner child, the therapy part comes from the fact that you know they're going to be taken care of. The benefits of it are healing. From a young age, a lot of us, especially people of color in this community, we're very sexualized from a young age. We're hurt from a young age. We have a lot of responsibilities that are put on us from a very young age, and so often our inner child goes completely overlooked because we forget what it's even like to be a child. We don't even know what our inner child likes to do because we've never even had the opportunity to meet them. But when you take that moment and you realize, like, oh snap, I can be safe, I can fly a kite, I can color, I can do all these things, I don't have to be an adult all the time, that is so freeing. It can be so freeing to take even, I'm going to give you an example. I work in the medical industry in my vanilla life, and it can be extremely stressful. I work in admissions, so it's my responsibility to make sure of everybody that comes in and out of my hospital. That's a huge responsibility. And it can be extremely overwhelming to the point where I'm like breaking down. But if I take 5-10 minutes to just color a picture, go outside, look at the clouds, small little things that a child would find wonder in, that puts me at ease to where I can focus. So I'm a switch, and what that means is that I have dominant and submissive personalities. I operate on both ends of the spectrum, both sexually and in my regular life. As a dom, when I meet a little, I understand not only is it my responsibility to take care of them, but it's also my responsibility to make sure that they feel safe enough to bring their little out. So it's my responsibility to make sure they have a safe space. Let's sit down, let's color, let's go outside, let's go get some ice cream, let's do the things to make you feel like you're at ease so that way you can relax. Now the flip side of that is, that takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy to care for someone. It takes, if we have parents in the room, I'm not sure, but you know what it's like when you have kids and when you're the caretaker, when you're the provider, when you're the runner of the show. I can't tell you how many times I've had to call my daddy and be like, I am losing it right now. I'm about to snap. I can't take it. And all she does say is, baby, come over. Come here, I got your stuffies. I got your blankets. Let's watch Disney movies. Let's cuddle. And that relaxation of knowing that it's all going to be okay. Because for these, couple hours, I don't have to be an adult. I don't have to be mama. I don't have to pay bills. I don't have to do anything but sit here in my blankets, eat my ice cream, and watch Pocahontas for the 100th time.
Now, okay, I'm about to pause here because thank you for actually actualizing what that looked like, right? Because as I was hearing all the different things, right, you gave us a very vivid description of like what it could be like in your state of hyperarousal or in your state of maybe high levels of stress. You have that trusted individual that you can call and say, hey, this is where I'm at, and they can say, I got you, but I have you in a way that actually literally mimics childhood, okay? So I'm just gonna pause for the audience. What y'all thinking? Like, would this be something that you would be interested potentially in actually reliving in terms of that, right? Because she talked about a break. So I'm just curious to hear from anybody. But yes, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on taking that break back into childhood?
I really, really like that. I work with children who have been sex trafficked and are trying to take themselves out of this world because they just don't understand about themselves or what happened, and they just try to bypass it, and they end up, just attacking others. There's no place for me to send these children for help here, just because we don't have proper treatment. When I send a child to the hospital, as a child advocate, I expect the hospital to take care of them. Our hospital is so inequipped to handle so many things happening right now, that I feel as a child advocate that I've actually done harm to children by sending them. So I'm coming up with other things to do, and through music therapy, trying to get children to just go back to being children. And I work with children who don't speak, who are deaf, or who are autistic and cannot speak, and yet need to bring out their, they need someone to talk to. They need parents to understand how to communicate with them, and it does not have to be in a verbal way. There are so many other ways to communicate. Parents just don't want to accept any others. You have to speak or whatever. And I'm like, they're speaking, they're taking people out, putting them in the hospital and getting shot, They're screaming. So I would have a question between you as a therapist and you as a dominatrix in playing those roles, because we know how important role therapy is in healing. In doing something like that, taking back your power, is that something you would ever think about with working with children who've been severely abused like this?
That's an amazing question.
Yeah, and I do want to just make one clarification. So again, as you were talking about in the context of working with abused children, over here in this context, we are talking about consenting adults and regressing to that role. And I want to just make sure there is a very thick line that we are talking about, especially in this space. And what I will say in terms of like any therapeutic methods is that it's important, because I have a question for you in just a moment. It is definitely important. I went through a lot of schooling. I got a lot of debt to be able to provide a therapeutic space that does no additional harm, right? Because we talked about there are spaces and systems that do. So it is important that when we are talking about, especially with children, that I'm just going to make just a disclaimer here, that we are looking into research-based practices or trauma-informed practices that are really going to care for these young people and help guide them through doing no more harm, but addressing the trauma that has already happened. My question that is related to that is, an adult who is interested in maybe being a little, there can still be some harm done if you have, I'm assuming, the wrong dominant or caregiver. What are some of the characteristics that you personally feel is required to be a safe dom? What should somebody look for?
Yeah, okay, so that's a lot. So, wow, you do an amazing job for one that's very hard and very difficult that not a lot of people can do. And I love you and respect you for all the work that you do. And yes, we are drawing a thick black line between children and adults in this conversation because we are only talking about consenting adults. But I do want to point out that it's not just a thick black line between, children and adults. It's an arrow between traumatized children and hurt adults that don't know how to communicate effectively, don't know how to regulate their emotions, don't know how to express boundaries, and that is how they end up falling into bad dominants that don't know how to take care of them or are only using them to inflate their own egos. So these are all dots that connect to each other. And this is how we have this dynamic now that has evolved into such a lifestyle for the community. It started with traumatized children, with adults who don't know how to help them, which has now grown into adults with repressed anger, repressed feelings, repressed hurts that they don't know how to bring out. And when that happens, what we do is we seek out that comfort when we're hurt. We seek out, open arms anywhere we go. And that's how we fall into the hands of people that abuse us, that lie to us. Those narcissistic personalities that bring us in and say, no, it's okay, it's going to be fine, I got you, I'm going to take care of you. And then all they do is hurt you. And they never listen to you. So those things are all connected. So it's good that we brought all that up, because that's exactly how we get here. Signs of a bad dominant, or your responsibilities as a dom. As a little, if you're going to have a dominant, the first thing you need to know is what your boundaries are. Who are you? What are you really seeking? And where exactly is your line? And if anybody tries to cross that line, they're not a dominant for you. It's that plain and simple. It's not let me compromise this one time, or maybe they step, but it's okay because they're so awesome. No, it's not okay. If you say that I have to be off and be home by 9 o'clock, and they pull into your driveway at 9:30, they crossed your boundary. And little boundaries matter, because the moment they cross little boundaries, and if little boundaries can't be respected, what happens when it's your whole body? What happens when it's your heart, when it's your mind, when it's your entire soul that you've given to a person and they can't respect you? So I always tell everyone, start with your boundaries. Look inside, talk to that. If you want to be in a submissive space and you want to dominate, talk to that inner self. What am I really seeking right now that I can't do for myself? If you're looking to be a dominant and you're looking for a little, what is it that I'm actually seeking? What can I give to uplift somebody and to help somebody? Because you have a lot of dominants out here that want control simply because they have never addressed their own hurt and their own traumas, and they want control of you. That's not loving you. That's not caring about you. That's not making sure that you and your dominant can grow as a unit. That's making sure that you're held to them. And then they cling on to you for dear life. And that can get really toxic really fast.
We have a question from the audience. Yes. Yes.
So going to what having a good dom or a bad dom looks like, I don't think that anyone is a good dom or a bad dom. It's really what you and your dynamic looks like. Because what we see on the outside is one thing. Y'all can see me abusing those 4 people over there and think, man, she's a fucking bitch. But what if they like it? You don't know our dynamic. What I do personally is I don't start any dynamics until I get to know the person. And what I tell people is, before jumping into a DS dynamic, get to know the person. Because if you or that person are just so gung-ho to jump into this relationship, it's gonna be bad. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's gonna be bad. Because it's just like any other relationship. Oh, it's rainbows and cupcakes now, and then 4 months down the road, you can't stand each other's fucking guts. It's the same thing in a DS dynamic. I do, my under consideration protocol is, I usually do a year, but if they can't withhold or uphold what we both agreed on, like what do you expect out of me and what do I expect out of you, if we can't uphold that, and if you can't show me that you actually are that type of S-type, or I can't show you that I am that type of dominant that you want, we can go our ways and no harm, no foul. And there's no actual commitment. It's under consideration. And then after that, you go into training. whatever that looks like. It's a long process. But what people like to do in the BDSM community is they want to jump. Let's jump right into the fucking fire.
Right, let's just do it.
And you cannot. That, to me, is bad dom, bad sub. If you are so fucking gung-ho to just, let me jump into the deep end, and you can't swim, that is what makes it bad. Only taking your time, and time means it could be 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, before you get a collar, before you and your dominant, we're talking about littles, before they take you to Disneyland. That's a lot of money. And if I'm going to spend that kind of money on you, because mommies and daddies, that's what they do. That child, essentially that child, is not supposed to take care of themselves. You go to a park, you buy them their ice cream. You go to the movie theater, you buy them their ticket. They want that damn bear on the wall, you buy that too because they're a kid. And so if you're not financially able to do things as well, don't venture into it. Because it's just like having an actual child. They want coloring books, they want the dolls, they want Lord Jesus. So
they want it all.
They want it all.
We do. We want it all. We want the plushies. We want the coloring books. We do. We want it all. And Mommy and Daddy better give it to us because we're some good noodles and we did our chores, okay? And we drank our water and we ate our food and we did so good. So please give it to us. And so that's exactly right, though. But you made an excellent point. But that just leads into what I was saying. You know, that those are your boundaries, right? You know, the four of them with you. You all have your boundaries, so that's not necessarily abuse, right? Because you're all consenting adults who have gone through a period of time discussing things and establishing boundaries and establishing roles. So, you know, you have that mutual respect for each other, right? And there's no one that can come in from the outside and tell you what's right and what's wrong. That's y'all's thing. That's y'all's dynamic. That's what y'all do. But my point of being is that if someone can't simply respect your boundaries, that's not someone that you should even be negotiating with, even if it's a little one.
Well, I appreciate. First of all, y'all give it up for Shayla. Come on, y'all. Come on. And I really do appreciate the fact that you all gave us some very practical things to chew on, and to, like, if this was new to me, right? And so for someone who has a very young perspective on this, right? This was really good for us to, like, really kind of peer into it. Again, thank you for that.
I'm happy that I got to talk to you about this, honestly, because you're a therapist, and because of, you know, the specialty that you have, forgive me, I wanted you to maybe listen to this and use this as to part of your therapy to know that, you know, because you know that a lot of this starts with trauma at a young age, tapping into that younger essence of someone that's hurt can be very beneficial.
Yeah. Thank you. Y'all give it up for Princess Shayla. So now, listen, you can find her at worship_Shayla, and that's SHAYLAH on Instagram, okay? And then you can also find her. She did a podcast interview with OMG Goddesses, so the creators of where we are today, right here for the first Melanated Sex Expo. I see some new faces in the room. Shout out to the new faces that have entered the room. Welcome to
You guys
Sex
made it.
Expo. We are now getting ready to transition into another panel discussion, which actually Shayla is a part of. And the title of that panel discussion is Sex Work is Work.
It's a lot of work.
Now, before we transition, especially for the new folks who have just come in, I want to let you know that we have some classes that are taking place, actually starting at 2 p.m. right upstairs. We have a whole campus going on. We've got the vendors outside. We have the main stage here. Upstairs, we have some classes and we have some services. So we have yoni steams and we have massages happening up. If you want a yoni steam or... So Jasmine's not
She's not there, but Kira will be coming up next too. So like bring this one shorter to like.
Sure. So do we have the yoni steams and the massages still?
The yoni steams and massages are upstairs.
All right. So no classes, but we do have the yoni steams and massages. And if you are interested in either one of those, please make sure you go ahead and sign up over there, which is the table against the wall. So we're just going to jump into a brief conversation around sex workers where I have a podcast called The Naked Truth Experience, and I had the opportunity to really kind of dive into this sex workers' work. And the first thing that I want to do is, Shayla, if you could talk to us a little bit about how do you define sex work? How do you define sex work?
If you're using your body or your voice or your mind or your talent and you put it on the internet and somebody comes to it, that's sex work. Like, period, point blank. It could be a picture of you, it could be your feet, it could be your armpit, it could be an eyebrow. If somebody came to it, that was sex work.
So I think it's important that you actually make that distinction in the definition, because I think a lot of people think that it would require someone having sex or intercourse with another person. But what I hear you saying is that, no, that is not the case.
No. If somebody finds whatever it is you're doing, you're putting out there into the universe, you're doing in your bedroom, you posting an ad for, if somebody finds that sexually attractive and you got some money, whatever it was, I don't care. I don't care if it was your pinky toe and it was a little messed up. If you got $5, that counts. You did it. You did the sex work. You did the thing. Boo.
So there might be more people out there who would be labeled as a sex worker than maybe they thought before,
yes.
right? And I want to transition into this, right? Because I think it's important to point that out, because there's a lot of stigma around the word or the title sex worker. And I think that there is a traditional view of what sex work means, which is what maybe prostitution, right? And in these other forms of sex work. But because of that, it's criminalized, it's demonized, and it's stigmatized. So can you talk a little bit about the stigma around sex work, and why do you think it exists, and where do you think most of that stigma comes from?
Shame. We shy. Like, honestly, people don't want to talk about the fact that they like feet, but you just spent $150 on my shoes, bro. Like, people don't want to talk about the fact that we have billions of people on this earth, but nobody likes to talk about sex. We really have come to this point where when we think about sex work, we think about dark alleys and cheap outfits and prostitutes and people that end up on SVU and cam girls and weird back rooms, you know. But it's 2023, and we've come so far as to what can be considered sexy or profitable.
I think also this is something where I want to, when I did the podcast, I had a woman who's been a sex worker. She's been in the sex work industry for over 20 years. 20 years. And one of the things she's talked about is that it has been her choice for all 20 years. We know that sex trafficking, I'm born and raised in Sacramento, California, where I think we have one of the highest percentage of child sex trafficking, right? And in Arizona, it sounds like as well, right? So we know that there is a major, major problem and atrocity when it comes to sex trafficking and sex work, especially for minors, and that there are some who may have to resort to sex work as a means of survival. But can you talk a little bit about sex work as a choice?
So, I think whether you're doing it to feel sexy, whether you're doing it for your own self-confidence, whether you're doing it to make $1, sex always involves consenting adults. That's what it comes down to. If this wasn't your choice, if you didn't want to make this money, if you didn't want to post this picture, you know, it wouldn't have happened, right? So, sex work is a choice in a sense of, even if you got 50 likes, even if you got some subscribers, you still made the choice to, you know, do the work and get the benefit of it. So it's still considered sex work, whether you want to label it that or not.
So, but when I talk about the choice, in terms of, do I have to do this because I feel like I have no other skills, I have no other opportunities, or can I willfully choose that this is an industry that I'm interested in, this is an industry that I want to be a part of, and this is something that I like to do. Can you speak to that in terms of choice?
Well, I think that in this industry, whatever you want to do, like, you can do it. So you're not going to be forced to have sex with somebody. You're not going to be forced ever to, be a cam girl. I started out as a dominatrix and then moved into being a professional girlfriend and then moved being into a professional switch. And then I moved into being a model. But all throughout those stages, I still considered myself a sex worker. But that's whatever avenue you choose. This world's big enough that you can do whatever you want to do. Like, you're not forced into just one box.
Do you think the criminalization of sex work, do you think that is what makes it more dangerous? The fact that it is criminalized in many instances?
I do, because a lot of people feel like they need to hide it. They feel, the shame of, oh, I'm a prostitute, or oh, I'm, a cam girl, or I'm an escort. They feel that shame, so they don't feel the need to be safe. Because the feeling of being safe kind of falls back on judgment. Who's gonna know that I'm out here in these streets doing this? And so that in turn makes sex workers vulnerable, because nobody knows that you were at that club on that night doing whatever you were doing. And so you got caught up in some stuff and now something happened. I think what's important is that we're open and we're honest about who we are, especially when we're putting ourselves in situations that could lead to bad things,
I think you said something that was extremely powerful in terms of the shame and how that leads to unsafe conditions. In any other situation, a lot of times, I'm going out with so-and-so, we gonna be here, and girl, if I text you and I'm like, call me so I can be like, the date ain't going good and I can go somewhere, right? Somebody knows where you're at. But if you are in a situation where you are stigmatized by the things that you are doing, you may withhold information, you may conceal information, and therefore you don't have that level of awareness and safety in that. So I think that's an amazing point in terms of that and in terms of safety. With sex work, I'm gonna go there. And I know this might be a little bit controversial. In any other profession, there is exposure at a young age to say, here are your possibilities. What do you think the level of exposure should be for anyone who is still young and young-minded in terms of what their opportunities are? Because this goes back to someone making a willful choice to be in the sex work industry. How did that person know about it? How did that person even get to it? And I know I'm going there with this question. So
you're really going there.
I am going there.
That's hard to answer because I'm a mom, okay? I have a 4-year-old son who's going to be 5 next month. And I don't want my son to know what I'm doing, right? But it's important that we have communication. But we have to have communication in a safe and healthy way. So, no, my son don't be like, Mommy be going out to the club and she be pussy popping and blah, blah, blah. But my son know Mom's a model and Mom goes to work. And when he gets older, we'll have those conversations then. I think it's important that we have regular conversations, but as an adult, when you're interacting with your child, you know what you do and what you don't want your child to hear. But I think that all adults can agree that we do want our children to have some level of understanding. So don't shy away from those hard conversations. Have a seat with them at whatever age. If they're old enough to talk to you, then they're old enough to listen. And they may not fully understand, so break it down for them. But definitely have those talks. And if you have an opportunity, like I said, I'm a model, right? So I explain it like that. I go out, I take pictures, I work with different photographers, and I am an alternative model. That's how I classify myself. If my son ever said, "Can I see your pictures?" No, they're for adults. Take the control as an adult to be, this is an adult, this is a kid, this is the talk, and this is what we can talk about, and that's the line. You're not going to ask me no more, I'll tell you more when you're older.
I thank you for walking down that path with me, right? I think it's sometimes we don't ask some of those questions, and those things are, you gave some really clear guidelines in terms of what is most developmentally appropriate, and then also in terms of you as a parent knowing your child and what it is that they may or may not be able to handle at a certain age and at a certain understanding. But I also heard you say that it is important that at a certain point that the child has some awareness as to who you are, or what you do for a living, again, that is most developmentally appropriate, right? Because we get into, again, I know that they can potentially perpetuate the shame or the stigma of what someone is choosing to do with consent in their adult life. Yeah. I want to open up a little bit for our audience for any questions before we transition out of our panel. Yes, we have a question in the back.
Have so much as a question, but I just want to kind of piggyback off of what you said, that it is important if you are in this industry to talk to your children once it is age appropriate, because you have to equip them with what they might come up against in the real world. I'm an erotica writer. I also do modeling, things like that, and I have a son, and because he's a male child, I had to definitely make sure that he understood what it was, because his friends might see my pictures on the internet. And some of them have, your mama fine, I'll say your mama, so I had to equip him so that he understood what it was. And for us, because I was a single parent, I had to have that conversation before I started, like before I really chase this full-fledged, because if it's something that's going to hurt you, then I'm either not going to do it, I'm going to adjust, or I'm going to wait until you're older and out of the house so that I can do what I need to do. So it was a respect thing as well. He comes to my performances. He's now grown. He comes to my performances. He just excuses the building when it's time for mama to get on stage, because no son wants to hear, their mama spitting erotica. But he's very proud of that. He's very open to it now. You know what I mean? And I think it's important because now he doesn't judge people based on what they do and who they are. And he's open to that, type of lifestyle. So I commend you on that.
Yes. I think that this generation of people that I'm seeing now, especially I'm 27 years old. My generation especially is what I'm seeing is a lot of generational trauma cycle breakers. We're really breaking the cycle on a lot of things, and the shame that we have about sex and sex work and all the things that fall under what sex work is, the more that we communicate with ourselves, with our children, we can get rid of that shame that so many of us carry everywhere.
Do we have any other questions from the audience? Thank you for your contribution. I really appreciate that perspective. Other questions? Sex work is work. This is the space, y'all. It is a melanated space curated by black folks for black folks for us to have these type of conversations. And you have people up here who are being vulnerable and who are being open and transparent. So this is a great opportunity to have the conversation. Other questions? Comments? Yes, thank you. I'm coming back to you. The t-shirt, sex nerd, I love it. All right.
Yes, I love that. That's adorable.
Thank you. So I came in late, so this is already covered. Apologies. How do you navigate the situation around specifically race and sex work as far as the fetishization of being a black woman, of being a light-skinned woman, the whole ebony and so on and so forth? How do you navigate that, and what are your thoughts on that as race being a genre?
That is a great question to ask at the Melanated Sex Expo. That is a very good question. And thank you for that. It's hard. It's hard because being a person of color is very sexualized, as we know. It all goes back to what I said before, boundaries, okay? Have a conversation with someone, really get to the core of why. Because I've been in this professionally, I've had people literally come up to me and been like, I'll pay you $300 to be my slave. Straight up, quotations around that whole... Hello? Okay, there we go. Sorry. So, to navigate it really is to stand firm with your boundaries. No, my skin color is not an object for you to sexualize. I'm not going to allow you to look at me that way and to treat me that way. If you let something slip up once, you have to let it slip up every single time. Stand firm to your boundaries, have real conversations with people, and definitely don't let people try to buy you. Because in this world, there will be plenty of money and plenty of things that you can do. I have seen girls sell their underwear for $500 a pop. You can do anything. And you are so much more than your skin tone, and don't ever let anybody treat you like you are.
Thank you so much for infusing the intersectionality of race into sex and sex work, right? And I don't think we have a panel this go round, but I'll definitely advocate for having that conversation around the intersectionality of race and fetishization and all of that, because I think it's extremely important. I want to once again just thank Shayla so much for your contributions here today. Y'all please give it up for Shayla, Princess Shayla. Y'all, it is 2:00 and we have been going rock steady for almost 2.5 hours. So what we are going to do now is we're going to just take a break about 10 minutes because we have an amazing performance that is coming up. We have Kinky Kira, and you do not want to miss Kinky Kira. It's about to go down, okay? We're going to have an amazing performance, but we want to give you some time to go check out the vendors outside. We have some lovely vendors. And then also, the CAN community organization is doing HIV rapid testing. It takes 1 minute to get your results. So you can go right out there in the parking lot. They've got the truck out there. And of course, I talked about that bomb-ass mac and cheese. Y'all go to that food truck. They got a whole bunch of food out there, so we want you to check it out. Please patronize our vendors out there and come back in about 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, all right? We'll see you soon. Thank you.